The US did not stay a moment longer than the agreed deadline.
I mean, if you're fully vaccinated and the state has hit its 70% double dose target, please expect to do all those things we've been missing for too long.
The last aircraft leaving Afghan airspace around 1 a.m. on the 31st of August.
Our national plan enables us to live with the virus, not fear it. That is our future.
And as the wheels left the runway, a long chapter closed for America, the Taliban declared victory, and an uncertain future began for the Afghan people.
I'm Stephen.
I'm Daniel. We've had a bit of a rift here. I'm drinking some Bourbon and Coke.
I'm having some rum and coke. But this is spiced rum.
Ah, nice. Okay. This is Russell Reserve.
Nice. This is Bacardi spiced. It's a vanilla Coke and ice.
Nice. It's just an ordinary Coke. You fancy fuck.
Ah, you pleb fuck.
Okay, this is interesting because, yeah, you've never been that big of a Bourbon and Coke guy?
I stopped drinking bourbon and coke shortly after I turned 18. All those Jim Beams and the Woodstocks ended up catching up with me.
Let you go. So then what made you turn to rum and Coke?
I started trying spiced rums, and I love that brown sugar flavors.
Nice.
And look, Pirates of the Caribbean came out, all right? I saw Captain Jack Sparrow loving rum, and I had to have some. So I had some spiced rum. We had some coconut rum as well, if you remember.
Yes.
My place, we were making cocktails. That was probably like early 2014, I think.
Mm.
And so shortly after, when we went to bars and stuff, I actually had a really bad experience at the Opera Bar, ordering a bourbon and coke. I almost threw up getting through one drink.
Wow.
It must have been some just horrible bourbon, but after that I started getting rum and coke, and because it has that brown sugar flavor and the spice to it, it's just, I found it overall a better flavor.
My theory was the pirate theory, so I'm glad I was right.
And you've always been a bourbon and coke dude, right?
Yeah, but I actually don't mind rum and cokes. In fact, like sometimes I've asked for a bourbon and coke, and like maybe 2% of the time I actually do get a rum and coke instead. And you straight away taste the rum and coke.
Single shot or double shot?
I usually go single, but I can do a doubles. It depends. I don't know. It depends on a number of things. Besides, if like I don't want to keep getting up and stuff, like I'll just get a one double shot, sit with it for a while. I just feel like getting the one shot, you know, I guess it's just easier to go through. But yeah, rum and cokes are great. I guess sometimes people mistaken me saying rum and coke, and yeah, I don't complain.
The thing is, I like it equal parts. So if it's, 60 mils of rum, I want 60 mils of coke with some ice in it. And for me, you get the flavor of both.
I like that.
Bourbon's making a comeback for me. We had those Maker's Marks and Coke recently. So I think it's more so the type of bourbon and Coke.
And I think you just detox from it as well, dude. I think that played a big part in it.
Yeah, we had a lot of Jim Beams and
that was the
a lot
main
of Woodstock.
Stuff. Yeah, a lot of
Woodstock. Good times. Exactly,
Yeah,
good times. Did you know about that time I became the Bourbon Warrior?
I don't think I'm familiar with this. Bourbon
I
Warrior.
think this is my 18th birthday party, and someone put a Russian style hat on me and a cape, and I was holding a can of bourbon, and I became the Bourbon Warrior.
Oh wow, I'm really trying to see if I can remember this.
I think
I remember you dressing up. I don't remember being called Bourbon Warrior though.
Yeah, I was the Black Bourbon Batman. Why did you say that name?
Should make a comic on that. Yeah, I actually haven't had a bourbon coke in a little while. It's usually my go-to.
Last time I had a bourbon and coke was with you.
With the Maker's Mark, right?
Yeah, Maker's Mark.
Nice. Yeah.
That was right before the lockdown started.
It was right before.
Yeah.
Actually, the day, and then I headed home, and then lockdown. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Shows you how long it's been.
Crazy all around the world, dude. Not just lockdown, but if you've heard about what's happening in Afghanistan.
Yeah, you've been really really helping me get to understand what's going on there, because I was pretty unaware. If I'm being honest, I was hearing rumblings and stuff, but you've been really helping me and showing me what the hell's going on there, which I feel like everyone should be knowing.
First, I'll just give a quick recap for the people listening in. After 9/11, the United States government asked the Taliban, who were the controlling force in Afghanistan, to turn over the Al-Qaeda and their leader Osama bin Laden, and they refused, which resulted in an invasion. And for 20 years, military troops of various countries occupied that space. But in 2020, they came to an agreement that as long as the Taliban don't condone terrorist activity and live peacefully, they'll start taking the troops out of Afghanistan. And shortly after the country started withdrawing their troops, the Taliban basically started taking over. Kabul was the last standing. I believe they were the capital of Afghanistan, but Kabul has fallen too. And now what we're hearing is the most recent news is airports are in risk of receiving terrorist attacks and suicide bombings to prevent the people from evacuating.
Horrible. You sent me some of the videos through TikTok of people, just a cargo plane full of people, and then it's so packed and there wasn't anyone else able to be on it, so everyone was jumping on top of the wing and holding onto the wing as the plane was flying. Some of the most unbelievable stuff I've ever seen. Just some other stuff you sent me, just so shocking and just disturbing and horrible.
It's horrible what's happening there, man. People handing off their children to soldiers they don't know in hopes of a better life, And the fact that, this new announcement that they're preventing people from evacuating. And think about the amount of people that gave their lives to try and achieve peace in Afghanistan.
Right. How long Americans and Australians and everyone was there trying to fix the situation.
Soldiers that have died trying to achieve peace, If I'm looking at a list right now, since 2001, there was 38 Australians who died in combat.
And now 2001 would have been the year that they entered, right? Or was that since 2001?
2001 is since they invaded, because we're allies with the US. Oh, sorry, my bad. That's old. That was only up until 2012. So
that was only half the time.
Yeah, there must be a lot more, and that's horrible. Think about that.
Even one life,
Our young men and women going out, risking their lives trying to achieve peace in another country.
It's really disheartening, just heartbreaking. It just raises the question: do they send them back? But now the situation's worse than ever because they let them get the power back.
Exactly. Do you see that video about one of the Taliban leaders talking about what would happen if the US extended their stay in Afghanistan?
If they are intent on continuing the occupation, so it will provoke a reaction.
Yeah, that was really haunting. I literally, just saw that. Scary.
We talked about this earlier. You had this idea for what United Nations and the world's governments can do to try and achieve peace. I really liked your idea. What were you saying again?
So it was basically, I guess what's the main goal is to obviously get rid of the Taliban without hurting the civilians. I feel like that was the main goal. And I don't think this is a realistic way to approach it, but I just don't know any other way other than putting soldiers around the border of Afghanistan, saving the refugees, building camps around the borders for the citizens, and then slowly closing in on the Taliban while keeping the civilians safe in the refugee camps that you keep building up. And then that way you can, and as you get closer to the center of Afghanistan, you'll force the Taliban out. The problem is the civilians will still be on the territory, so there could be a lot of crossfire. So I don't know how that would work necessarily, but it's just that's the goal. Obviously, is to stop the Taliban without hurting civilians. So I just don't know how else to do that. They definitely don't seem to be wanting to go to peace and being able to be negotiated with. So what do you do?
Afghanistan is very much a leaf-shaped country, and it's very difficult to establish a border patrol. But the benefit is if you did find an oval around Afghanistan, the extremities of the country, you can make sure there's some level of civilian life in the extremities.
Right.
And usually the extremities of the countries is what's most populated.
Yeah, I don't know what their tactic was. I wasn't 100%. Like, you heard that they were in Afghanistan and stuff, but I don't know exactly what their plans were and what exactly they were doing. But I just don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's terrible, man. I really hope that people can come out of this. I know that women in particular have it hard. Do you see that picture with the people sitting in the airplane military deployment?
Yeah.
It's majority men, but
Yeah.
when it comes to women in Taliban control, they have their rights stripped from them. They basically can't live as human beings.
Completely. Like, they can't be looked at through a window or something. Like,
Yeah, that's
they
right.
can't be outside without a male companion.
That's true. That's terrible, man. It can't work. The Taliban have assured that women be able to work and study.
There will be nothing against women in our ruling. Our people accept our women or Muslims. They accept Islamic rules. If they continue to live according to Sharia, we will be happy. They will be happy.
But they also assured that there won't be any terrorist actions. And as you've heard already, there's been terrorist actions.
We are coming on the air with breaking news from Afghanistan. An explosion at the Kabul airport where thousands of people are still attempting to evacuate the country.
Well, that's why, like, there's that quote, you don't negotiate with terrorists. But I guess if we kept them there, what was getting achieved anyways? Like, I guess it wasn't as bad as when they got pulled out, but like, how long? And I think that's why people were getting so angry at the situation. From what I know of, people getting angry at the situation because, like you said, Australians, Americans, people that are fighting in Afghanistan are dying, and it's like, is anything actually getting achieved?
Exactly.
Or is
what
it
are we
just
achieving?
Yeah, or are people dying just to stall the inevitable?
A war-torn country for no particular reason.
Yeah, and without, from what it seemed like, without any improvement or ground gained.
And you'd think that, oh wait, they don't have the equipment to fight. Now that, you know, the government's fallen, we can go in and take them out. All their equipment is now the best military grade equipment from America. Because as soon as the government fell, Taliban took over. They took all of that equipment. So we're fighting on equal ground at this point.
Wow, that's terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying.
Do you reckon there's a chance that someone's going to rise up again, like Osama bin Laden?
Well, if they have taken over the government, I would assume that they have a leader, right? Have they actually taken over the government? It seems
Well, the
like
government's
they have, right?
fled.
Right.
So they are the government now.
Yeah, so it's only natural that they're going to have a new leader, I would assume. Yeah.
It makes me wonder, what's the COVID situation in Afghanistan?
I was thinking that as well. Because, yeah, like, for them to have to deal with that as well, like, I don't think there's a controlled, vaccinations or any protocol, whatever the protocol is, to help it, because they're dealing with all this other stuff.
So they have about, on average, when the Taliban rule wasn't too bad, it was around 2,000 cases. And I can see very clearly testing has gone down here, because right now we're at 100. Even at 0. Yeah.
Right, that's because of the testing. They're not testing or confirming numbers.
How could they, man? It's a country run by terrorists, right? And we have Australians in Afghanistan right now.
I didn't know that, no.
Australians stuck they have citizenship, but they're stuck in Afghanistan. They're getting beaten and abused.
Just anyone stuck in a situation like that.
Our Prime Minister gave an update this morning saying, each country's leaders, they're trying to do what's best for their own country. So what are you going to do about our people there?
What about anyone there? It's just tough. So scary.
Although vaccinations have plummeted, apparently. UN reports say that ever since Taliban took over, vaccinations have plummeted like crazy in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume they'll be providing, resources of any kind.
What do you think that terrorist groups set out to achieve? Let's just say they achieve it. They have everyone in the country under control. Now what?
I guess they continue giving, women no rights. People of LGBTQ community no rights. They stick by whatever their values are, and they keep a tyrannical reign over the people. It's horrible. Sounds horrific.
I forgot about their treatment of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, well,
So
they're extremists.
if you're gay, they put you behind a 4-foot wall. So now imagine how tall a wall has to be when I tell you the next part. They put you behind a 4-foot wall, and then they drop it on you. It lets you fall on you.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so there's a 4-foot wall, 4 foot wide, right? I don't know how tall this has to be to actually fall over, but it falls on you. If you survive, good for you. God has let you live. Otherwise, that's what you get for being gay.
I'm not sure if it was Afghanistan or not, so I don't want to sound like, not knowing, but like throwing them off buildings as well. I've heard that before.
I think that's just general abuse, right?
Yeah.
Then they should prioritize women and members of the LGBTQ plus community to evacuate.
And children,
right?
of course.
And
Yeah.
children, of course.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, it really does make you think what's in the mind of people like this. But it just starts some people have extremist views, and then they can form a group with people that think that, becomes an echo chamber, and ends up becoming basically like a cult. And yeah, they're stuck in their thoughts, whatever it is. It could be anything, and nothing will change it. And they not only will nothing change it, but they'll want to change your thoughts and change, you.
Now, another issue is, even if you can evacuate as many people as you can out of Afghanistan, where are they going to go? Because it's going to cost governments money to keep them,
Yeah,
shelter them.
Economic damage that's already been taken with COVID. It's just the worst case scenario.
It's absolute. Yeah. I think pulling the troops out right now was probably a really bad decision.
It seems like it for sure, because now things are worse than ever. But maybe how much money was it costing to keep them there as well?
Trillion, at least, right? $1 trillion.
Right. So was that even possible to keep doing? It's tough. Like, obviously, it does seem like taking them out led to the worst situation, but was that going to happen eventually?
Now, Afghanistan's population is actually bigger than Australia's.
Wow.
So we have around 25 million people approximately, and they have 38 million people. So getting a lot of refugees coming to Australia, the question will be, governments struggling to maintain healthcare and all the amenities that we have right now. No wonder they're saying, I don't want to bring in more refugees. But at the same time, these are people.
Yeah, the people. Yeah.
It's not about money at some point.
Like, when you look at human rights, no one should be going through what they're going through. Economic damage. And look, I'm not an expert with this stuff, but you would assume, look, human rights is you shouldn't be treated like how they're being treated. So if we can do something to help them, we should be doing it. Even if it's going to have
come out with the best ideas, man.
Like, even if it's going to have economic damage to us, that's not the worst case scenario. Like, preserving human rights is the goal to life,
And human lives.
Yeah, and livelihood. And
all right, I know that they're trying to help the people right now who have been helping our soldiers overseas. They're trying to airlift those people out. Even for them, they have to get some sort of skilled immigration because they're struggling to come across the border. You know, we have these tight economic. I think, you know what? I really think that our economy and the way our society functions needs to be reinvented. Do you want to talk a little bit about how we got our first vaccine?
Well, I knew I wanted to get the vaccine. I was worried when I first heard about the vaccines and you hear about the blood clots and stuff, and like it made sense because of how crazy COVID's been, you know, putting companies and people out of business and stuff. You could see the economical and, you know, social pressure for them to rush the vaccines.
Yeah.
So it was a legitimate raise of concern, being like, are they rushing it? Is it actually ready and stuff? But the fact that they're rolling it out into Australia and stuff, I really doubt they would do it with such high risks. And
That's true. I think at the end of the day, we do have a government that cares about our health, and that's evident in the fact that we have Medicare.
Exactly, that's huge. Like, not even
If there was
America has
any
that
issues,
stuff.
they're going to cover our healthcare. That
Exactly.
costs them money.
Yeah, and like, to be fair, like I wasn't keeping track of the vaccines enough, so I honestly didn't know the difference too much between the Pfizer and AstraZeneca. It was through people like you, my family and stuff, and other friends where I started to get a bit more of a better picture, because unfortunately I'm just not versed in the news. And it does seem like AstraZeneca is a bit more for like the older demographic, when Pfizer's for, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know, because right now they're offering all the younger demographics. I think our age group's the one that they're really pushing AstraZeneca on, because I don't know, maybe we're just a bit more resilient for it.
Okay.
We were also the highest infectious, so the highest number of infections in New South Wales was within our age bracket.
It's just probably us being idiots wanting to see each other.
Yeah. So we actually got our first jab within 5 minutes of each other, right?
Yeah.
We were in different locations, but it was 5 minutes of each other. And it's been a little bit since, but apart from a bit of soreness and muscle tightness, I haven't really had any side effects.
Yeah, same here. My arm felt slightly like a bruise, like a little bit, like nothing crazy.
Like some dickhead punched me in the arm.
Yeah, but like I thought, like from what I was hearing from other people, I thought I was gonna have a sore arm even if I wasn't doing anything. It was only if I leant against something it would hurt, just like any other, you know, injection in my arm or something. And then I ended up getting a bit of a sore throat, but I'm not sure if that's connected or not.
Yeah. So we got Pfizer's the mRNA vaccine. There's been a bit of controversy around that because the mRNA is the newer vaccines. The traditional vaccines like AstraZeneca were carrier vaccines. So they have the dormant version of the virus and kind of lets our immune system get used to the virus and learn how to fight against it. So when we actually come against the virus, our immune system's super armed against it. It's basically like giving our immune system time to study the virus and fight against it. Whereas mRNA, it works on a molecular level. It gives our DNA the coding required to produce the spike proteins of the virus. So it can identify the virus and create an immune response on its own, which is really interesting. Look, I'm not like super versed in that either. I just did a bit of light reading. From what I learned, actually, our age group is a bit more vulnerable to Pfizer for heart inflammation. But that's also like, you know, with Panadol, you have a slight chance of peeing blood. So I think you are more likely to die of the coronavirus than you are of getting the vaccine. And that's what helped make my decision.
The pissing blood makes a lot of sense now.
Have you ever pissed blood?
No. Actually,
Yeah, it's probably a bad sign.
Yeah, have you?
I haven't. I've not.
Yeah, no.
That sounds bad.
Yeah, that's a big raise for concern.
Yeah. Well, our next vaccine's on the same day, same place. So that'll be like, we'll have a little vaccine cheers, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And like, thanks again to you. Like, you're the one that got me hooked up to get Pfizer. Also, a big part of getting the vaccine was obviously, you know, the implication that we can get out of lockdown sooner and actually get to see people.
I was genuinely upset when I found out the numbers were hitting 1,000 plus, because we're at the stage where people are saying the virus is going to take over. it's going to pass through. Everyone's going to get it eventually, and we're just going to have to work with it. You know, that's why they're trying to get the vaccines up to 80%. And it's been really tough with lockdown, but here's hoping that we all come out of it better, you know?
Well said. Well said. That's the big thing. I think that's what people are most scared of, is like the damage after. I just hope we all become a bit more compassionate, a bit more understanding, a bit more sympathetic to each other. I think it was a big wake-up call just to show that we are all... They sort of tease celebrities, because like celebrities like Gal Gadot did this like big "we're all in this together" song, like, you know what I mean? It's like they're living in a mansion. It's like that's a lot different to what we're experiencing, but in a way it was something that impacted everyone in a certain way, which is pretty crazy.
Which is, now that you mention that, it reminds me. So our most recent vaccine, Pfizer doses, the 1 million, it came from Poland. We bought it, but Poland was initially planning on giving that to Africa as a donation because it's really bad there. But because we offered money and we bought it from them, Africa is now missing out on it. And it goes to show, because Poland has heaps, because they reached a vaccination rate of 50% and it went stagnant. People didn't want to get vaccinated anymore.
Wow.
So they said, just do whatever you want. You know, it's pretty wild. There's lots of deaths every day, but the people who are vaccinated and people who are not vaccinated have the same amount of rights to do what they want to do.
That's fair, yeah.
That's why they're selling off the vaccines they had in excess. We got 1 million vaccines, 500,000 go towards the most impacted state, and then 500,000 goes towards the rest of Australia, where there's 0 cases. So there is a real big demand for vaccines around the world right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with, like, I understand the stress that Australia was having to do that, but like, that is pretty messed up to do that to Africa, which doesn't have the resources.
Exactly. And the fact that Poland went along with it, that was interesting.
But then again, like you said, if Australia bought it, it's a bit hard. It's like, do we give something for free or do we get money for it? Like, I don't blame
Everyone's
Poland
in an
for
economic
that.
crisis right now.
Exactly, and Poland was still they were going to do the donation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so they had the good mind, like, to do that. Then Australia comes along and brings money. It's like, how do you say no to money when your country's suffering from economic damage as well?
I suppose
That was an Australian mistake. But you know, I get Australians needed to, but I don't know, dude. It's like, that reminds me of like school stuff. It's like during lunch and then everyone's trying to fight over like someone's food or something.
Yeah, basically. Well, let's just hope that we all get through this together and we're all fine at the end of the day. It's really sad to hear that people dying every single day. You know, we want to stop that.
Definitely.
Hey, you know what, man? Cheers to a good future.
Cheers, dude.